Yay.
Welcome to Heartistry, and I am in Karachi, Pakistan, and I am with undoubtedly one of my favorite people here, somebody I've been excited to have on the show for a long time. And finally, we've carved out some time, though we've also done a good job of staying in touch over the years, even working together a little bit,
Yeah.
which we'll get into. But without further ado, please join me in welcoming Kulsoom Aftab to the Heartistry Podcast.
I'm so grateful and I'm so happy. And I feel um, I- when I saw you first time, it was maybe 2016.
Yeah.
You were doing workshop at PACC, and that was the time when I was in my acting training.
Okay.
And I needed that kind of empowerment, what you used to exude. And I remember I had made some clicks when you were just paying respect to your
The space,
gurus.
my pranam,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, putting on or
Yeah.
taking off my
Yeah.
kongru.
Yeah. And I say thanks to Josh because she took us,
Yeah.
and I think I'm honored to be here.
Oh, well, I also remember those moments, and we didn't get to spend a lot of time. That
Yeah.
was literally my first trip, not to Pakistan, but for coming, for the purpose of work, of
Yeah.
teaching, dancing, performing. And you certainly left an impression on me as well. So we heard a little bit about you, of course, in the introduction. But what I really love to do, Kulsum, is just to take some time to really get to know you personally, professionally. And so, what I always love to do with my guests is start with your origin story. Where were you born? Were you born here in Pakistan?
No, I'm
Okay,
not.
well, there you go. Great. We've already got something to explore. So tell
Yes.
me anything about your personal background, family history that you'd like to share.
I am born in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Yeah, and my parents are definitely from Pakistan. My grandparents are from India.
Okay. Which
So,
part?
UP.
Uh-huh.
My dada dadi both were from Faizabad,
Okay.
and my nani was from Fatehpur, Haswa,
Okay.
and my nana was from Badaयूं.
Okay.
So this was, and I think I am that generation when parents used to teach this, that okay, my parents are from this origin.
The lineage, the
Yes,
history mattered.
yeah.
Mm.
And this was a little strange for me as a child because your whole reality is in your apartment.
Yeah.
Your food, your way of dressing, your language, and it's like living in a complete contrast setup culturally. Like if someone is living in States or UK, they
Right.
still can, there is a certain level of openness
Yeah.
where you just
So are you referring to growing up in Saudi
in Saudi,
Arabia?
yeah,
How,
born there, and then
how old were you when you left there?
I was there till when I was 12.
Okay, so that's
I
quite a
saw
while.
the Gulf War,
Wow.
and I rarely speak about it. What happened when I was too young when Gulf War happened, and I remember my father's workplace. They sent the masks for to prevent the gas attack,
Oh, wow.
and it's quite a trauma tale because I was too young, and the training everyone was supposed to train themselves to wear that mask in less than 10 seconds, 3 seconds, 7 seconds. Like a child is told that you
Yeah.
need to do it, and a child needs to know, what if I did not do that? What will happen
Right.
to me?
Right. What are the consequences?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're
Ooh.
introduced that it's not just death, it's a very particular type of death.
Mm.
No one is actually telling you, or they're trying to use that googly to inform you. You are, CNN was all over. CNN
Yeah.
in Saudi used to come as live,
Mm.
not censored. So we started watching CNN.
Yeah.
And so we know that what happens when gas missiles come after you. And I never were
Wow.
able to learn how to do it in 10 seconds.
Oh, and so it creates a lot of just
Yeah,
pressure
yeah,
and
yeah,
almost just that anticipation of,
yes,
anxiety
yeah,
and undoubtedly.
yeah.
Wow, wow. And so when at 12 years old, what was it? Where did you move to then?
Then my parents, we had two crises there.
Hmm.
We were experiencing that Saudi is getting changed
Hmm.
towards, because of course, I mean, sometimes I understand that as well,
Hmm.
because there was a lot um, load of people coming to Saudi from Kuwait, from
Hmm.
Lebanon, particularly Kuwait, because
They were fleeing. Yeah.
Iraq was did attack Kuwait first.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole Arab family issues,
Mm.
we as non-Arabs experienced.
Sure. It's almost like,
Yeah,
why are you taking up space?
yeah. The as tenant, I remember they had they were always very nice. They used to come
Yeah.
once a year,
Yeah.
bless the children and go. But then I remember we saw the same uncle who was always kind and
Yeah.
doing something little would do with us, and then he's saying, "You need to evacuate. I want to have this for our brothers from Kuwait. This
Wow.
my space would be." This was something first time I
Wow.
realized that okay, it's not that.
This isn't home.
Yeah,
Wow.
it
Did you have any siblings?
yeah,
Hmm.
we have four sisters, one
Okay.
brother, and
Oh,
I'm on the
wow.
fourth
Okay.
number. Yeah,
Big family.
yeah.
Wow. So did you feel a closeness to your siblings? And were you able to, however much you could at that age in your life, did you feel some sort of almost unspoken understanding of what you all were going through together?
Yeah, I mean, their way to deal with the war apprehensions or the philosophical questions or anyone
Hmm.
ask to themselves, life, death, ethnicity. Where do you want to, like, this is a question you are introduced.
Yeah.
Where do you want to die? In
Wow.
your own country? So what is this? Is this not my country? No, it's not. So we used to, but my siblings had a little better coping mechanism.
Hmm.
I think my mom had a severe trauma,
Hmm.
and it's like I found, like we two found each other, which was not, I don't think it was in healthy bonding, because there is a child questioning some serious sorts of issues,
Yeah.
and if they are told the answers, because someone
Yeah.
needs to offload,
Yeah.
and poor
Oh,
her, I mean.
that's a lot. I mean, I'm sure in some strange way, that was such a support to your mother. And yet, and I say that because I have such a close relationship with my daughter, but sometimes I have to remember, wait, she is just a child.
Yeah, but maybe I understand her position as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know how we just treat our daughters, and particularly in that decade. So
Hmm.
she was a young woman having five children, and like her, she got married at a very young age, and then
Hmm.
she left her country, living with her husband, and then her husband has shift duties. So most of the time, she is with her four daughters, one son, and she's questioning herself when someone comes and says, "Mama, what is war?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Gas missiles."
Mm.
And so I can say
Yeah.
she can
Right. It's
say things. Yeah,
understandable to say
yeah.
the
So I
least.
don't have any. I think Gulf War in a very destructive way, but
Mm.
grew me as an artist.
Mm.
Yeah, I grew as an artist.
Mm. Let's take a pause here.
Very heavy.
Ah, Okay, here we go. Okay. Welcome back to Heartistry. We are speaking today with Kulsoom Aftab, and I mean, already I'm just learning so much about you that I didn't know. I think you may have told me that you were born and lived in Saudi. That is not sounding unfamiliar, but my goodness, the stories of actually growing up there at that particular time. So you mentioned you were 12 years old. So did it just get to that point where
Less
it was
than 12.
best?
Yeah, less than 12. I was around less than 10 even when this
Okay.
happened. And then the second issue came that we had only one Pakistani school,
Okay.
and there was a college associated with it as well. So it was safe to stay in Saudi because my parents used to see that, okay, they are going to be educating themselves in school and then college. And then the college just, for
Closed.
some reasons, yeah, they closed it.
Wow.
And then my parents started thinking, yeah, either we go to some other country, and there were options. Some visa facilities were easy in that
Okay.
decade from Saudi to Canada.
Okay.
And that was the time when my parents thought that we won't be able to control our children.
If you go west.
Yeah, so they chose Pakistan. And
Wow.
from that point, it took 3 years for them to finally do it. And then in 1995, late months, like
Okay.
technically 96, but I spent some late months in Karachi in
Okay.
95.
Okay.
So we came to Karachi.
Okay. Wow. And do you mind, how old you were? About 12 then?
I was 11 or 12 when I
Okay.
came to Karachi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that shift like? Did you feel like, this feels more like home? Did you feel like an outsider, even though culturally maybe you felt connected? What was that like?
Yeah, I think when I was in Saudi, my parents used to bring VHS cassettes of mushairas happening in Dubai,
Okay.
India, Pakistan.
Yeah.
And a lot of language and a lot of adab salam was in our home.
Yeah.
And my mother used to do all fatihas and all. So it was very cultural.
Right, right.
When I came to Pakistan in 1995, there was nothing like that. There was a cultural shock to me that the Pakistan I was told doesn't even exist in a small corner of anyone's home.
Wow.
The language was rotten.
Yeah.
The mannerisms were alien. My family's mannerisms were alien to my cousins who were
Like you had so much more tehzeeb
yes.
than
That if we knew that if some nani or some khala, like people were not even like they used to call baji if her mother is calling my mother baji, so she's also going to call her baby baji.
wow.
Where I am calling her mother Khala Begum.
Right, right.
Because I was told that these are the relationships and we need to pay respect in that way. And that is love and respect and the fun of our rituals.
Right, right.
And I'm just seeing that people are dying to color their hair, small hair. No sense of roots I experienced. That was, I think, most painful.
Wow. So it was a different kind of culture shock because you thought you
I
had
will be
a window,
yeah.
yes, into society and culture as you thought it would exist here. And then once you got here, it was almost like whatever you were getting access to was like a time capsule of sorts.
My parents, I remember they still quote me and my sister said that, when we die, you just, like we used to think, because there was a lot of Indian cinema in my home. So we used to think that we will be not buried, we will be cremated. There will be sat. That's how we used to ask, "Aapke phere kahan hue the?" So my parents had to educate us, and they started creating a balance between the visual content we see and hear the music, and PTV started and Mushairas started, and imagine you can recall that 95 is not a very easy, 90s is not an easy decade in Pakistan.
Yeah.
There are two things happening. Everyone is talking about dish TV. And then there was a lot of street violence.
Street
Violence.
Acha. Oh, that's right. I do remember coming in the 90s. Even so much so it was such that we were supposed to come for a cousin's wedding,
Yeah.
and family here was saying, don't come. This
Yes.
is not the time to
Right,
come.
yeah.
So it was such a strange thing to be told that we had tickets booked, and my parents thought, nay, they're just being, they're exaggerating.
Mhm.
And then to hear it multiple times from different people, okay, there must be some
This
validity
was
in
not
this.
easy.
Yeah, a lot of carjacking, a lot of.
And that Hawaii firing ka tofa, and people were so senseless that in the morning there was a still newspaper era, and they used to say, "Aaj ka score kya hai?" Oh, 65 died.
Wow.
And I saw that, I heard that, I from Gulf War.
Yeah.
Seeing it settle down, and then traveling to your own country.
Yeah.
And
wow. So you're here. Which school did you go to when you arrived?
Ali school.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a girls' school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, we heard about you in the introduction. I, of course, know you through this arts community and arts environment. When were those seeds planted for you? You mentioned you grew up watching films a lot in the home and such, but when did you feel a calling to explore theater in any way?
I think my parents unknowingly were an academy of performing arts for us.
I love that.
Unknowingly. Like, I think they were away from Pakistan. They were not very rich, but they knew that their future is being secure gradually.
Yeah.
And they used to discuss the shots that, see, Guru Dutt, whenever character experiences something, he does this half dark, half light, and you're playing with your dogs.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I heard that, and then discussions over Kumar Bara Bankvi's, he's an Indian poet, Kattarannum. And then I think my mother, I was just 2.5 when she just made me learn Imchaji's poetry. So my language was very, like, my sheen calf was polished by my mother when I was just
how
less
lucky
than
are
2.
you?
I think I am. I still, मैं कहती हूँ मैं आज जबान की खा रही हूँ क्योंकि मेरी जबान साफ है. And that's not something that I did to myself. That's purely my mother.
And yet,
And my
थोड़ा सा
father.
credit ले सकते क्योंकि, as you got older, you could have let it go. You could have just been speaking English like many
But
of the
who
people.
can leave Urdu?
I mean,
it's a person to live with.
I'm running after it.
I think, or I have observed in you that your connection with dance is that thing what I say about theater. And now I today said it about Urdu. That's another revelation about my own connection with my language. I say that theater and now Urdu is like I'm living with a person. I'm not doing these things. So I feel that you have this spirits with dance. So you live with one person, so you cannot just sometimes room is already. So having Urdu, another roommate is going to be.
This is how I think my husband's waiting to be the roommate.
You got me. Yes. you just confirmed what I said.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, you do these because I think that these things, whether they're tangible or practice or interest or whatever they might be, they do when you really take to something, first and foremost through interest, then the interest becomes desire, then it becomes, your way of life. And therefore it sort of comes into every part of your life,
Yeah.
and so you don't, even though I'm not 24 hours a day in the dance room, घुंघरू के साथ या कुछ, it's still always a part of me, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
live with a person.
Yeah, yeah.
That's dance for you.
Yeah.
That's what I saw years ago.
With language too. Oh, even in me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take another break.
I'm already loving. And if you don't mind.
Yeah, good. Do you want another one? Another chair? You're
All
good?
good, all
Okay.
good.
I know usually I have us sit on the sofa, so I can do that as well, but this gives us the better video
Better video.
option. So,
Yeah, I get that. I'm good, like, that actor training is like you actually engage this kind of space.
Yeah.
इतनी छोटी कुर्सी जितनी जगह चाहिए होती है
Yeah.
आपको comfortable बैठने के लिए.
Absolutely. Well, welcome back to Heartistry. This is Farah Yasmeen Shaikh, and I am sitting with Kulsoom Aftab in Karachi, Pakistan, and talking about so much that we're going to have a hard time ending this conversation, to be honest. So, okay, so you were saying, language was just the tehzeeb, even around the Urdu, was planted in you knowingly or not. And then was it the same for your siblings? Do they all have this love for the language? Have they maintained it in the way that you have?
I think yes. If you meet my siblings, you would notice that their language is polished. One of my sisters is a newscaster, and one can see that the way she pronounces baladia, she's not always saying. She never says baldia. So because the diction is not something what we learn from universities or academies or with some gentlemen. Diction was taught to me and my siblings by our, so actually the mother tongue was told and taught by mother.
Literally mother
Yeah.
tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful. So as you get older, then again, the love for the language is there. How did it translate to actually the interest in theater?
I think this is I was a proper poet. मैं उर्दू शायरा थी.
कब से?
From 2000.
Okay.
I think 2000.
So
or
your
20.
early 20s, not even.
Yeah, before. Like I
Yeah.
started saying, I started just attempting in Urdu shairi when I was 15, 16.
Okay.
और वो शेयर करना या किसी को दिखाना उसकी हिम्मत नहीं होती थी, but मैंने मशक बहुत की थी.
Or were you reading poetry? Or okay, there's a flow. My father has given me a little
insight.
Very little, but I know that there is like poetry in many languages, cultures, places. There's the way the first word matches up with the last word in the line, and what is that called?
काफिया.
Yeah, or एक लफ्ज़ है.
Radif.
Yes, Radif is the one yes, he would tell me, no, that's Radif.
Yeah.
Yes. So had you, in quotes, studied that, or were you just sort of free write?
I think since my mother, when we came in 1995 in Karachi, my mother started focusing on, my father said to her that, okay, this is your time, just explore. So she wanted to be a writer.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And she completed her education when she was here. So imagine me, 5 children going when we're sitting outside because our mother is, giving examination.
Amazing.
She did completed her education.
Wow.
And she had she arranged a library. We always had books even in Saudi. Like my parents were very aware that I remember that at that time they used to buy Nat Geo's magazines. when we were in Saudi. So a lot of books.
Yeah.
My father used to ask friends from India that Indian publications are so beautiful and uncensored.
Yeah.
So we used to have that library culture. So
Okay.
to be very honest, by 12, 11, 12, 15,
It was in you. Yeah.
I had some classic poets of Urdu I did not touch by
Okay.
choice because I
Okay.
was absorbing. But Urdu literature मैंने लपेट दिया था because of my mother and because this selection of people she did when she came. I remember she was offered by every field that you're a new person and you know how to talk and you have a good shakhsiyat. So you attract a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But she said that I would like to go for literature for my children. So she spent she's focused on literatures and I think the best of the literary people were still alive at that time. And I am so blessed that
Yeah.
we could spend time with them. So language was later nurtured by the actual scholars.
Yeah.
They used to come and अच्छा मन्ना तुमने आज क्या पढ़ा लुगत कब उठानी चाहिए जिंदगी में when to start using dictionary. So I was very lucky to have that.
Wow. So when I'm so curious though,
Oh,
how,
theater.
yes,
I'm so
how
sorry.
did, no, because this is all part of the story. But clearly what I'm loving though is it was like there were building blocks being put in place,
Yeah.
but you weren't necessarily doing it
Yeah.
with the goal of
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
study theater,
Yeah.
I'm going to,
Yeah.
right? So
2005, Napa was open,
right.
and I used to visit Arts Council a lot.
And Napa, for those listening that don't know, is
National Academy of Performing Arts.
right here in Karachi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pakistan's first performing arts academy that way.
Yeah.
Because before that, it's not just that Napa started doing all these things. There was still institutions like Tehreek-e-Niswa. They had their company. They used to produce. And if I'm not wrong, Ajoka also had that same thing.
That's in Lahore.
Yeah. But Napa was something which the government gave up a space to some amazing people and then assigned budgets. And so this thing, I used to visit Arts Council like anything because of the literary activities happening there. And I always had a fascination about the गुम्बद नजर आते थे बहुत बड़ी बाब राइज होते थे उस जमाने में नावा वाज नॉट दैट लोअर वॉल्स उसकी बहुत बड़ी बड़ी दीवारें होती थी तो यू कुड ओनली सी द टोम्स and I used to ask my mother what is inside. And actually though I just went because my mom said okay let's take her. She wants to visit. We just went because I wanted to see उस गुम्बद के नीचे क्या है. And we went there and we saw Arshad Saab standing there and he gave the brochure and he said, I'll only allow you to explore if you promise me that you would consider coming here as a student.
Wow.
So he just,
planted a seed.
He
Yes.
did.
Wow.
Yeah. And I came home and my mother said, okay, we can think about it. And she wanted me to learn singing.
Okay.
And when I had the brochure and I said, I don't have any inclination towards music at all. But here there is something written which is saying script writing. I can't just let it go.
Yeah.
So I chose Napa for that reason of mine that, okay, more than poetry, I wanted to explore writing. I wanted to eat words. I had that, the lafzon ke gird mein reh sakun kisi tarah se. So theater came that way in my life.
And so you did you did your higher education at Napa.
Well,
Or
I
specialized,
was
sort of.
actually it's your professional studies.
Right.
Yeah, it is a diploma. So
Right.
I was already a graduate.
Right.
When I went to Napa.
Okay.
I did my graduation, the bachelor's in arts, and
Okay.
Napa, I was the first batch, and I was one of the lucky people who actually, because that was the only batch which had that kind of um, I don't know, ambience or the tension, and the Dr. Sajad was our
Hmm.
teacher.
Hmm.
So, and that policy is basically yes, because he said that my students will have to focus on writing.
Hmm.
So 3 years means only 3 months in journal trimester. Out of nine, eight must be spent on writing
Wow.
in isolation.
Yeah.
After that, admin and management started saying that you will have to make this 1 year. Journal trimester should be 1 year. It did not work out.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, and again, it just, you mentioned '05 it opened. Here we're sitting here 2025, so this is 20 years ago.
20 years.
I even remember when Napa opened. I remember hearing about it, and then Arts Council,
Yeah.
there was, yes, just these, and they're literally across the
Yeah,
street
yeah.
from each other, and it felt okay. Performing arts
Yeah.
has a place in this
Yeah.
city, and there's vibrancy, and yet, needless to say, there are ups and downs. We see this, of course, in the States as well, but I think in Pakistani society, there are other challenges, unique factors that come into play. And so, how many years were you a student at Napa?
It was like I did my major in script writing,
Hmm.
whole 3 years.
Okay.
And after that, it was only Dr. Anwar Sajad Sahab who had this vision that we taught them how to do it. We did not teach them how to teach the same activity.
Ah.
And he called me and my class fellow, Shariar Abrar Ansari Sahab. Shariar Bhai and I used to come and he started our training how to teach.
Wow.
So I was still
You were a student in training to
yeah,
be
a teacher.
amazing.
So that was the time बिल्कुल ऐसे ही आ जाते हमें बुलाते थे गाँव तो आ जाते थे हम वाला हिसाब था. So then I started working. मेरा पहला I think my first individual lecture was after a year training.
Okay.
And I was the first my age group faculty who delivered an individual lecture when it was all senior people
Right.
taking their classes, just leaving some space for assistants. My batchmates who were now part of the organization as creative professionals, hired and doing work.
Yeah.
But I think I cannot replace that journey. People training session was something I still touch kursi ka paya khamoshi se before teaching because I want to touch the feet of my guru, Mahaguru, I call Dr. Saab. Because he had this kind of, I still ask myself that he had predicted a few things. And I always used to come like to myself that what's wrong with him? Why he thinks that we students or some instances, particularly me, are so special. We are not that special. And he thinks that you are going to experience this and then only you guys will be doing that or and he had those visions and he acted on it. So he had this major disagreement with management that you need to train the faculty. And I think what happened was all my batchmates and later other of my fellows did train their own selves and they reached to that perfection level. What Dr. Saab used to indicate that a faculty of dramatic arts should be like this.
Yeah.
And I realized that I could see, and then after some time, I am fan of my all of my
Colleagues,
colleagues,
students,
my tribe. Actually,
right.
I should not even use the colleague word.
Yeah, that
for
sounds
them.
too formal.
Very
huh?
formal. My bonding with them, I saw everyone's growth. So I can very clearly say that they started seeing that okay, मुझे ये and they become those people everyone love because they did eventually either you train yourself or someone does it for you. In my case, someone did it for me.
Let's hold on that. Welcome back to Heartistry. This is Farah, Yasmeen Shaikh, speaking with Kulsoom Aftab. And yeah, I'm loving so much of what you're sharing, Kulsoom. It's relatable, and yet it's still yours. It's uniquely yours. So again, here we are, 2025. 20 years have passed since you walked onto that Napa, those grounds with your mother and took that brochure and since of course you were educated there, received your training to be an educator yourself in theater, and up until recently, very recently, you continue to work there. So you have really seen the evolution of an artistic institution in the city of Karachi and the city of Pakistan. And I certainly know many things that you've already shared. There's been a lot of ups and downs, to say the least. But I want to actually sort of pull back a little bit and talk about just sort of the artistic landscape in Pakistan. I know that's a very broad topic, but what do you see as, you've talked a little bit about this environment that you were in and when you felt really inspired and motivated by other professors that really stewarded you, guided you, mentored you. But again, moving outside of that, where do you see that Pakistan has been, is going in relation to the art, whether theater, dance, music? What maybe worked well at one time? How did it get disrupted? What do we need to do societally and otherwise to ensure that art not just has a place, because Pakistan's a very rich artistic environment in every sense, but it's still not valued in the way that it should be. So anything I'm saying that you can reflect on.
I think this question is an opportunity for me to say some of the things what we normally are not talking about. Like if we start from Pakistan's inception.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we just take first decade, 59, 57, we see that there was an absence of things, but we had radio.
Yeah.
We had a lot vibrant vibes in literature.
Yeah.
We were having migrations from India of artists. And then we started seeing television.
Yeah.
So 60s, all over the world, 60s is a very vibrant.
Right.
And
it's an artistic renaissance. It was
in a way,
it was almost a revolution.
Revolutionary.
Yeah.
Very, very shadid, what I would do. Very much there. Decade. And so is Pakistan. We see a lot of painters here.
Yeah.
We see a lot of again, literature is
poetry, literature
is in the frontier.
It's so integrated into the fabric of the
Yes.
culture of this country. Yeah.
And politics is also discussed in art. This is happening. Okay, 20 years. This is happening that there are no people either know how to touch these topics. And somewhere, if you see Pakistan television's narratives, they're trying to get into the brains of audiences and try to alter the morality, the rigidity.
Meaning in favor of rigidity?
No, questioning.
Yes, they were more progressive.
Progressive.
Yes.
They are saying, you say that Khamosh, the silence means when nikah happens, if Dulan doesn't say anything, that means she's agreeing. PTV is questioning those attitudes. Yeah. And then we land on 70s.
Yeah.
And then we see what happens.
Huge pendulum swing, Zia Huq's time.
Yeah, and the Dhaka fall.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot from us.
Yeah.
Because the set department, the dance, the presence of dance and singing,
Yeah.
the voices from some Bengali women and men, and a lot that technical side, um, the richness of production, everything started, So
Frame.
so there are two types of migrations in Pakistan. First migration is people from arts coming to Pakistan, and then people like Bade Ghulam Ali Saab or Qurratullah and Haider going back to India,
Yeah.
and then Dhaka Fall.
Yeah.
This is another type of migration.
Absolutely.
Which affects only we are left with resilience. And then yes, now we go to this martial eye door, which has only one question for all of us, that are you with us or not?
Right.
If you are Muslim, you are with us. So that now we
as long
can't,
as you abide by our
Yeah,
definition of
yeah,
Islam
yeah,
and what you need to do to
yeah,
show it.
yeah. So we
Yeah.
saw women and men in the every field, the journalism, the arts, and television and theater. Uh, People are finding ways how to counter this, and then we end up in 90s,
Yeah.
where cross-cultural influences, Kulsoom coming from Saudi,
Yeah.
seeking a Pakistan what she had seen in Saudi,
Yeah.
in a box, caged culture was my impression, that is my culture. It never existed, it felt.
When you say caged culture, define that in the
Television,
TV. Got it.
It was,
So,
I thought it is
yeah.
representation.
Yeah.
It was a boxed thing.
It was just
It was
a
not
facade.
there. Yeah. And if it was, those people were challenged to be changed. Those people were demanded to be changed.
Yeah. No, it's true. What pre Zia al-Haq, there was even this PIA Arts Academy.
Yeah.
There was this TV show, Baal.
Yeah.
Nahid Siddiqui, Kathak was a featured program, dance performances.
And that whole regional transmissions who used to come from Bangladesh, now Bangladesh at that time.
Right. Right.
East Pakistan.
Right.
They used to have women dancing and all. The representation of dance particularly was because a lot of the credit goes to the Bengal region. And 71 really affected creative melee in that matter. So we jump to the 90s and we just see that now we are trying to compete. Oh, how can I be just able to make some 150 episodes, regardless meaningful hai ki nahi hai. Don't have any theater at all. We have only Mujra theater, and we have resilience wala theater, जो जिसको करने वाले से अगर कोई पूछे, if I sometimes I feel that if someone says to Shimaji that Shimaji, would you like to spend time in a production in a year which is just for the purpose that you want to create a 12-day run for theater itself, she would love it. She needs to suppress that instinct. Theater is an instinct for its maker. उसको दबा दबा के पर्पस और मीनिंगफुल, क्योंकि वो ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है इस वक्त. And those people are just like शमा लेके चल रहे हैं. And हमें थिएटर का इंट्रोडक्शन तो शीमा जी के खेल से था. कराची में when I came, so थिएटर क्या होती है, या तो जिया साहब की रीडिंग्स थी, या शीमा जी के खेल थे. That's what theater is. So जब किसी चीज से entertainment का उनसे निकाल लिया जाए, when entertainment is excluded from an art form, that actually I used to call it that, oh, that's a bad thing, we should not do this, we can't just limit. But then I realized after 20 years, 2 to 3 years ago, I questioned myself that, okay, that's what we think entertainment, the relationship with entertainment is messed up. We need to understand that that's the bonding between, it's not entertainment, it's actually celebration. So if a
That's so
theater
true.
or dance is for fundraiser, a performance can only be happening if it's a fundraiser.
Yeah.
That means audience can just say to ourselves that, oh, I'm going for a good cause. Dance is actually not that
Yes,
religious.
they're
It's
not going to actually partake and
yeah,
participate in the
and they
dance.
are acknowledging that I so want to witness
Yeah,
this performance because they know there is nothing wrong in it,
yeah.
but they need some moral grounds to say. So this kind of
Interesting.
90s
Yeah.
confused and messed up morality created another turmoil for creativity. And now I don't want to go here and there, but I just am now concluding that this leads us to a revival of theater, and that is Napa.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
all my respect with people who kept doing theater, but the unfortunate thing that their radius was,
Yeah, it was an uphill battle. It
yeah,
was,
they were on in a different
yeah.
ground. And then Napa came, and with Napa, like I remember me myself saying in seminars, in speeches, in some interviews, or in lectures of mine to students, or in my drawing room, that look, you will have to acknowledge we have become that small cottage industry sort.
Yeah.
We are surviving.
Yeah.
We are able to give. That's what the first speech I heard from ZM, Zia Saab, अल्लाह बख्शे उन्हें. He said that मैं चाहता हूँ कि इस पेशे से लोग जिस दिन कमाने लगेंगे, आज तो हुकूमत और सरकार जो है उसने दे दिए हैं पैसे हमें और हमने बना लिया, पर मैं उस दिन खुश होऊंगा जिस दिन कोई मेरे तालिब इल्म ने आकर मुझे जब ये बताया कि उसने जब अपने रिश्ते के लिए जब वो गया और उसे कहा गया कि वो क्या करता है, तो उसने बफखरिया कहा मैं अदाकार हूँ और उसका रिश्ता हो गया. That day I will feel that Napa is a success. And शादियाँ हुई, people got married telling that Napa में काम करता हूँ.
Right, right.
Yeah, but that's again, and the last thing on it is that if you ask me right now, I think the relationship what Napa did develop, and then there was always Arts Council doing theater.
Right.
And Arts Council was not in the beginning doing its own theater, but Arts Council was giving several creative professionals a space, and
Yeah.
later now they are also doing their own theater. And this resilient theater groups and people, everyone, we had developed something mutual. But I think this, because as a producer myself, I can tell that this relationship, this niche, this bonding, this community is affected by some of the circumstances.
Let's take a pause here. Welcome back to Heartistry. This is Farah, Yasmeen, Shaikh, and I've been having a very enlightening conversation today with Kulsoom Aftab. And sadly, at least for the purpose of this podcast, we do have to end the conversation, but you have certainly given me, and I'm certain our listeners, a lot to just think about, reflect on in your own personal journey, as well as your observations and experiences here in Karachi. And, really assessing it through the lens of history. I think context is so important, when we talk about the state of things, right? So I really appreciate you doing exactly that. And I know that you are now exploring more independent ventures, still very much through your artistry and artistic just endeavors. Tell us briefly what that looks like for you. I know you've got a production company, and yes, anything you'd like to share about that.
I think Theatre K Productions is something that I actually made in 2012. But I feel that we all made our productions because there was a festival and we were told that you will all have to
Be under your
submit.
own.
Yeah. But I remember that we were not, we actually, the attitude towards our actually companies were like, look, it's some kind of group you all have.
Hmm.
And it took 4 years for me that I started feeling that it's the company.
Yeah.
And I first started thinking to register my company.
Hmm.
Like my journey from group to company was
Mm-hmm.
from 2016. So
Yeah.
it became a proper registered company,
Okay.
which did not have much of my attention because I was working with Napa.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just had this opportunity, what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So Theatre K was a support system for original playwrights.
Okay.
The intention to develop a
Mm.
platform for some people who need to feel safe.
Mm.
And in my case, I learned that playwright right now cannot just have this luxury that I have written a play, please do my.
Yeah.
No director is, sorry to say, like from ZM to fresh alumni or even a first year student
Mm.
whom is asked to prepare a 5-minute performance as director. I can, the statistics can confirm that none of the directors had this vision to understand you can't survive on adaptations.
Yeah.
So there was a lack of vision from this big scale to smaller directors.
Right.
And that made me to create, and I started directing and learning acting because of that. Because either I was seeing people who were not even understanding what I'm writing,
Yeah.
because there is no Wikipedia for my play's interpretation.
True.
Or they actually think that what a new playwright can offer, what Ionesco or Shakespeare or Chekhov gives me. So every director wants to enter on the floor of performance and then a production of 12 or 5 run with the security of a very, I know my script is amazing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create a good space for playwrights. And I did not get any playwright in the.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So what I did was I started doing my own plays.
There you go.
Yeah, but last year it was like I could explore other writers, and that was Talat Hussain Saab. No one knew that he was a perfect, is a great story fiction writer, actually. So I did a production for him. Recently, I explored my own batchmate, who is an amazing actress and amazing poet. She's published poet in English poetry, and I developed show around her poetry.
Yeah.
And then it's crossing. The recent thing is my own academy.
Yeah.
Where I feel that I am able to understand two things, and I want to function in a way that the two deepest, most concerns of any academics can have or should have is that hardcore theater slash film training is needed, is respected. I'm not decreasing the value of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we should just stop saying this thing to our students that no academy has responsibility of work towards you.
Like
you make
finding, helping you to source opportunity.
When you make them alien.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, in academies, you teach them the language, the content which is not needed in the market.
Yeah.
Who is going to
It's
take
not
responsibility?
applicable.
Yeah. Who is going to take that responsibility?
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I am the outcome of that training.
Yeah.
So I say salam
You
to
see
that.
the value in this,
Yeah.
and yet actually applying it in the outside job market.
Yeah.
There's a gap.
There is a gap, and there is a certain level of all of a sudden you are holding hand of your child, and then you say you are grown up.
Yeah. Harva.
So Theakada is going to the Theatre K Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Yeah.
So short is Theakada. Theakada is bringing that kind of some way you can say that if you are at Theakada, you are already in the market.
Yeah.
Somehow I just made curriculums. I have I've taken people on board who are from the market. Yeah. My children should actually work with the people they are going to find opportunities to work with after the degree. So why don't right now?
I love it. That is beautiful. It's a lovely model, really. It almost becomes more like an apprenticeship type of idea.
It's a new approach.
Yeah.
It's an academic discipline, which is I think I have seen other organizations, even outside Pakistan, avoid this. But I think only emotional available organizations / academies would think of something like this.
I love it. I love it. It doesn't surprise me that you are at the helm of thinking of it. Well, Kulsoom, to end our conversation today, the question I always love to close with is simply around this concept of heartistry. So it's obviously the word heart and artistry put together. And for me, that's speaking with individuals that bring a passion, compassion, and commitment to whatever they're doing. I think you have certainly filled that definition, and then some. But I'm also always curious to know that whether as I'm speaking about it now or when you heard this word heartistry, what, if anything, it invokes for you?
You mean about your podcast?
The concept, this idea, this name, heartistry.
I mean, when I first watched your podcast, that was I think there was some lady. She was Indian, and you were talking about how it is difficult to work as a woman. You were just, and as I say that when I saw you, you exude that kind of devotion, all those three things already. And then I saw that this whole thing, what I just told about Thekada, the way you were listening and contributing in the conversation with, unfortunately, I forgot the name of the person. But this whole, it's such emotional, available presence of yours for the conversation. So this name was like that moment. That was my moment to connect with you, the title and the podcast. And I feel that the first time I'm always going back to that.
Sure, first impressions matter.
Because that's what I want to say about whole this, that it's 2016 we first time saw each other. From your work, when we met, I first time arranged your classes in Napa.
Yes.
Maybe it was 18 or 19.
Yes, my friend Meena was with me.
Yes,
then.
Meena was alive. Yeah. Well, what a person.
I know,
I'm so
I know.
sorry for your loss. Well, I feel that she was so vibrant and loving that I feel it's my loss also.
Absolutely.
Just meeting her small, and I did not see a change in you. You spoke to us in that workshop from that point that you all are actors, and you were demonstrating your own change of masculine and feminine. How do you feel that some of your workshop participants still remember?
I love that.
I grew up as an actor, and I felt that okay, she's understanding like a 3 years old state of mind in an adult actor. So this one thing, that compassion and concern, I would like to add in this whole the answer of the question, that you did not add another thing. What comes, what evokes, seeing what I see to make me say all these things is that you are concerned about individuals you even don't know sometimes. Your work also.
Here's the irony in what you're saying. One, thank you. That's not ironic. That is just a simple statement of gratitude. But you just described yourself.
Really?
Yeah. And again, compliment back to me if I'm at all comparable, but I would say the same right back to you.
I'm very happy that I know you.
It's mutual. I'm so glad we finally took the time to have this conversation. It will continue. Each conversation will just be one of many to come.
Inshallah.
And inshallah, and we will hopefully artistically work together
Inshallah,
again sometime in the near future.
I'm really praying
We'll
for
make it
that.
happen. We'll
Yes.
make it happen. Kismat is one thing, and yet sometimes you have to take the
Yes.
reins and
Yeah. Nature helps you.
yes, absolutely.
Theakara needs you.
I would be honored.
Theakara needs you.
Let's make it happen.
Yay.
But for now, thank you so much for your time today on Heartistry.